Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved in real estate for over 30 years. You're in the right place to make money and control your destiny. How does seller financing work in real estate? Well, you're going to learn some of the steps. And it doesn't matter whether you're old or you're young. There's a ton of opportunity. There's so much abundance. My specialty for the past 30 years is an alternative to regular real estate. Unlike most investors who really strive and search to find deals on rental properties, apartments, office buildings, single-family homes, I actually chose tax liens and tax deed properties, which I'll explain later on in this video episode. So today's episode, I'm going to answer your question, how does seller financing work in real estate? Now, this is something that my students do regularly. We like to buy these properties at tax auctions, and we try to get them at bargain prices. So we make it our business to sell quickly. And one of the ways that you can use to sell a property quickly is provide seller financing that will accelerate the process. So not to worry, I'm going to explain it as I go along. But first, you need to understand that seller financing in real estate is here to stay. It's been around for hundreds of years, and you can do it. This is not something that's super difficult, but it's something that is super profitable, I'll tell you that. So 30 years ago, when I discovered that the local counties were confiscating real estate because property taxes weren't paid, and then the county wanted to resell it so that they could take the money, the revenue from reselling it, and pay the taxes, I said, wow, what a good place to buy properties. So the government sells these confiscated properties for pennies on the dollar. I mean, sometimes 60% discount, 70, 80% discount. So that just means the government has tried to collect the tax, and they, even after they levied it, tried to collect, sent notices, they couldn't collect it. So they seize the property and they sell it for pennies. I mean, buying properties for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar is not unusual. Now, those kind of discounts are huge. Now, what are you going to do when you buy the property? Well, these properties are slightly used and abused, and some of them are very good, and some of them are junk. Now, don't buy the junk, but buy the good ones, okay? But imagine getting a property for 10, 20, or 30 cents on the dollar with no mortgage. That's right, the mortgage is X'd out. What do they do with that mortgage? They delete the mortgage, okay? The legislature of the state mandates that to the county treasurer, that they delete the mortgage on the property at the county records. So now you're buying a property 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, and it has no mortgage. Well, folks, if you can buy properties for 30 cents on the dollar, I can tell you right now, you then know that you can make a profit immediately, because of course you can go check these out. Okay, so I could instantly see the profit, so what did I do? I made a business of doing that. So in today's episode, we're really going to talk about how does seller financing work in real estate. Well, if I can sell it quickly, I can make profits and go back and do it again. So how does seller financing work in real estate? It works damn well, I'll tell you that, because you not only make the profit on the difference between what you purchased and sold, but now you're going to make profits on the financing too. All right, so many people spend a lot of time hiring brokers, mortgage brokers, appraisers, home inspectors, begging for money at the bank, and they could have the property already sold by using owner-seller financing. It works very, very well. If you can buy low and use this financing, you'll get wealthy very, very quickly. Now, seller financing always works, okay? Now, sometimes you have to be flexible. Who are the people who are going to buy from you? Well, thousands of wannabes getting started want to buy, and they don't have credit history at all. And then there's a whole bunch of other people that have bad credit history. Bad, I mean, they haven't made a payment somewhere along the line, or they're a bad money manager, or they just have a low FICO score. So the banks aren't going to touch those. All right, the bankers reject those people. When they're rejected, they're perfect clients for us, especially if they've got a high-paying job and they've been on the job, they have employment for a number of years. So let's assume that you had say a $100,000 property and you wanted to sell it. Well, it would be perfectly legal for you to sell that property any way you want. You don't have to do a broker. You don't have to go to a banker. You could do the whole thing yourself. All right. Now, do you want a down payment? Yes. Do you want to get significant payments so you make money? Yes. So I'm not talking about discounting it. I'm talking about buying at the auction and then reselling it below the retail prices. So when I discovered that we could do this 30 years ago, I have never looked back. All of these properties were advertised to the public, but the mortgage lien or the deed of trust lien on the property has been canceled by the treasurer. Now, if you can buy a property without a mortgage or a trust deed lien, folks, you want to buy as many as you can. You don't want to just buy one or two. You want to buy as many as you can, as long as you can resell them. So the process is called seller financing in real estate, okay? You don't need a broker. You don't need an attorney. However, I would recommend get your contracts from a title company or get them from an attorney. You can sell this property, not with a mortgage, sell it with a contract. Yes, you could sell it with a mortgage, but if you have to foreclose, it's going to take you 6 months or a year. If you sell it with a contract, you can have them out of there in 30 to 45 days. So keep in mind, seller financing is not traditional. Only a small percentage of people do it, but the ones that do it, I'm telling you, they're accelerating their sale and they're making more profits. Now you'll see at the end of the video, we're going to make some pretty healthy profits. So let's use an example right now of a seller that wants to make a great deal and he wants to make it happen in his own county and do it quickly. All right, so now the county is selling these properties. So anybody can go to the auction, buy for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. All right, when you buy, the mortgage that was existing is wiped out. So the property still has a value. So let's assume the value was $100,000. However, it was only in default for $4,500. All right, so it's got a $100,000 value, $4,500 in default. Well, other people are going to think about this auction too. You're not going to be the only one. So you head over to the auction to buy, but it doesn't sell for $4,500. Someone's willing to pay more. As a matter of fact, the county might tack on a few fees and actually start the bidding at, say, $6,000. All right, well, let's say the bidding goes back and forth and you're one of the bidders and it stops at $25,000 and you say $30,000 and the auctioneer lowers the gavel, sold for $30,000. Well, if you could buy a $100,000 property with no mortgage and you can buy it for $30,000, both of us know you made a hell of a deal. So what do you want to do with it now? You can live in it if you want, but how about if we get it sold? How about if we get it sold quickly? Well, rather than try to sell it for the $100,000, it's probably slightly used and abused, so why don't we sell it for $65,000? So it's worth $100, sell it for $65. Now we have to let the world know about it. Well, if we're going to sell it for $65, how are we going to do that? Well, why don't we buy some media? Why don't we hire a broker? Why don't we do everything we possibly can? For example, let's put an ad on Craigslist. Let's use Facebook. Let's use Zillow. Let's use Trulia. Let's ask a broker to put it on the multiple listing service. Again and again, whatever way you can think to sell it, using signs on the property, using flyers in the neighborhood, every way possible. But we don't want to just say property for sale. We want to use those key words that are so important. What does that mean? You want to say it's an auction bargain. What else do you want to say? You want to say the assessed value is 100, you'll sell it for 65. People see the deal, right? You want to say again and again, seller financing, owner financing, installment sale. Why? Because that attracts all the people the bank refuse to talk to, and it attracts all the people that are wannabes to get started. My whole point is you need to let the world know that the property's for sale, otherwise nothing's going to happen. Now, when you go to sell it, you're selling a $100,000 property for $65,000. Do you think there's going to be more than one buyer? More than likely there'll be other buyers. All the $100,000 properties are out there bumping into each other, trying to sell at $100,000. If you're trying to sell 35% below market, that's going to make one heck of a difference. What difference is it going to make? It's going to make a difference of people there that want to sign up. They're ready to sign up. Now, they like getting signed up with you because they don't have to wait for the bank approval. They don't have to wait for a credit report. They don't have to wait for a home inspection. They don't have to wait for an appraisal. You can make the deal by the clap of a hand on the hood of your car. That's what my clients do. There's significant margin in this deal. Why? You bought it for $30,000. You're selling it for $65,000. Is that a nice profit? Yes. Okay. Is the buyer getting a great deal? Now you're saying, oh, Ted, you're passing up too much profit. I'm not passing up any profit. I can go back to the auction and do it again. There's going to be 3,000 auctions, and 99% of the people have no idea about tax lien certificates or tax defaulted property. Now, hundreds of would-be buyers are painfully turned down at the bank. They've been rejected. Now, they're rejected because they're not good money managers. They're rejected because maybe they don't earn enough. They're rejected because they just got divorced. They're rejected because they just changed locations. There can be any number of rejections. However, we can sell to those people if they've got a good paying job, and if they have some longevity, and if we put them on a contract, not a mortgage. Because a contract, they sign a contract that if they don't pay, you can move them out of the property in a very short period of time. So, does it matter if they have a good paying job? Yes. Does it matter if they've got longevity employment? Yes. Does it matter that you make the decision? Yes. You control your destiny and you don't have to wait. So now you've accelerated the process. So entrepreneurs don't necessarily follow the rules of the bank. They do what they want to do. So why don't we learn what they want to do and learn how to use the title company to get contracts, tell the attorney what we want, and then we can make our deals ourselves. When we make the deals ourselves, what happens? We're going to make a lot more money. I mean, a lot more money. So we use buy low, sell low to buy the properties cheap because we make our money when we buy. We collect our sales money when we sell. We make our money when we buy. We get the actual money when we sell. So the buyer knows the values, and if you're 35% under market, it's all going to work. So let's do a quick review. How does seller financing work in real estate? It works very well. Why? Because we bought low and we're selling low, so we get a selling price of $65,000. All right, on a $100,000 property. All right, we get a down payment of $10,000. That means we're going to finance $55,000. What if we did that and gave the seller terms for 10 years? And in the first year, they pay us $650 a month for every single month. And they do that for the next 9 years. Well, if you figure out the math, that's about $78,000. Plus, you'll get your down payment back. That means you're going to have $88,000. All right, so you only invested $30,000 and you're going to end up with $88,000. Tell me that doesn't work for you. Of course it works. But if you have to sell, you could still go ahead and sell. You could go ahead and sell and have to get cash and use all that up in your living expenses. But think how quickly you're going to get wealthy if you did this 4 or 5 times in the next 4 or 5 years. That would work and make you tons of money. All right, so do I know the question, how does seller financing work? Well, I sure do, but I'm going to tell you, you now know how seller financing works in real estate. Now, my name is Ted Thomas. I have 2 cautions for you before I leave. Number 1, if you're going to buy at auction, be sure you've had boots on the ground or someone you know has looked at that property. You don't want to end up with a property next to a chicken farm. You do not want to get a property that's burned out. You do not want to have a property that's just gone through a hurricane. All those can be problems. All right, so you want to have boots on the ground. Very important. Secondly, don't get into a bidding war. Always know what you can sell the property for. See, I fell in love with the business because when I bought is when I'm going to make my money. Then I can pick out what I'm going to sell the property for. So I want my exit strategy before I start bidding, so I don't bid past it. If you bid past it, you're going to lose your assets. I'm Ted Thomas. There's a free gift for you below me right now.